Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Railbookers webinar this week with a focus on, excuse me, looks like I have the wrong PowerPoint presentation. We're going to be talking about rail journeys that are particularly suitable for milestone life events. If you'll bear with me just a moment, I'm going to switch the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, here we are back again with the correct content. And so the focus this afternoon is on journeys that are particularly conducive for celebrating those great milestone life events, birthdays, anniversaries that is such a big trend at the moment with everybody coming out of coronavirus and looking to go out and travel and recognize those great things that have happened in all of our lives over the last 18 months. My name's Chris David. I'm going to be your host for this afternoon's webinar. We'll be together for about a half an hour or so with up to maybe 10 minutes at the end of the presentation for additional questions. To kick things off this afternoon, let's take a quick look at what we're going to be covering in today's webinar, a brief overview of the content for the presentation. I'll be letting you know a little bit about important things that you should be aware of when traveling by train, some hints and tips, rail accommodation on board, as well as what the train companies are doing to make sure that it's safe to travel with the health and safety requirements still in place. The main focus for today's webinar is going to be the itineraries and the destinations that we have, that we're highlighting, which are particularly suitable for celebrating and recognizing those big events in life. Some romantic train journeys, bucket list train journeys, and luxury trains that we're looking at this afternoon. Also, we're going to be talking about how to customize your vacation with Railbookers. That's one of the unique features that we have been able to modify and tweak any component of your trip. And of course, looking at some of those new policies and procedures that the train companies have implemented to provide peace of mind for everybody looking to book or plan a trip traveling by rail as we come out of the current coronavirus pandemic situation. Let me give you a quick introduction to our company. We're called the Yankee Leisure Group, a travel company that specializes in rail vacations and train travel experiences around the world. We have two different brands, Amtrak Vacations and Railbookers. In the US, we are the official tour operator for Amtrak. So we partner with Amtrak to operate all of those great vacation packages and itineraries into the US national parks and other highlight destinations throughout the lower 48 US states. However, through our company, you'll be able to book and arrange independent rail travel experiences around the world. So any of the destinations outside of the lower 48 US states will fall under the Railbookers brand. And on the Railbookers website, you will find a huge selection of train vacation packages and itineraries into Europe, Canada, Alaska, and specialty and luxury trains around the world. We have some fantastic new e-brochures, which I'd like to let you know about. These are all available and accessible through our website. And the e-brochures have collected our experiences under three categories: cruise extensions, a wonderful portfolio of shorter packages, 4, 5, 6 night packages up to about 7 or 8 days, perfect to combine with a cruise or river cruise connecting with the great river and ocean ports across Europe and other destinations around the world. Then luxury trains, all of those great luxury trains you may have heard about, like the Orient-Express, the Trans-Siberian Express, the Blue Train, the GAN and Indian Pacific, These are 5-star train experiences around the world, and you'll find all of those collected within the new Luxury Rail Journeys e-brochure. And then we have a brochure covering the wide selection, that comprehensive range of train vacations in destinations around the world, the Worldwide Independent Rail Vacations brochure. One of the unique features we have at Railbookers is the ability to book your travel, arrange your train independent rail vacation up to 2 years in advance. This is something really unusual because European train companies traditionally only allow you to book 60 or 90 days prior to departure. So working with us, even if you're planning to travel in 2023, you'll be able to confirm your accommodation on all of the rail segments right up into the first half of 2023, along with your hotels and your sightseeing, and you can book that all and lock in the rate at today's rates, even as far in advance as 2 years from now. Check out the Railbookers website, everybody. I'd highly encourage you to do so if you're planning any kind of independent travel for destinations around the world. There's a huge selection of vacation experiences and options available to explore, and you can search on the website by destination, by train type, luxury trains, iconic sightseeing trains. So really a great way to evaluate your options for experiences around the world in Europe, Canada, Alaska, and North America. At Railbookers, we work in partnership with all the train companies around the world, the European high-speed rail operators like Deutsche Bahn and Trenitalia, as well as the regional operators here in Canada, Via Rail, Amtrak, the Eurostar. And the benefit that this provides you is the ability in one place with one phone call, either directly through us or via your travel agent, to arrange an independent journey, including and incorporating segments on all of these different rail companies without having to worry about dealing with each of them independently. Which is what makes it so convenient working with Railbookers to plan an independent trip. In destinations like Europe, traveling by rail is usually the best way to get around, and we are at Rail Expert. This is our unique area of specialty. So when you call Railbookers or have your travel agent do so on your behalf, you have in Railbookers a company, a supplier that is intimately familiar and deeply knowledgeable about rail travel, so we can advise you on all those aspects that can be quite complicated. How many trains per day between the various destinations in Europe? We can work, it's one phone call to book your segments on all of those different rail operators. Also, you can do it 2 years in advance. You have the flexibility to be able to arrange rail transportation between any destination cities in Europe, Alaska, Canada, or the US. And a huge selection and variety of different kinds of experiences, ranging from luxury trains to sightseeing trains, and trips ranging in duration from a few days right up to 2 weeks. So really, when it comes to rail travel, what's complicated for others is easy for us, and we'll be able to take care of you with one convenient phone call. We, as well at Railbookers, are a worldwide company with offices all over the world in Australia, the UK, Canada, and the US. So wherever you're traveling, we've got your back. We'll be able to help you and support you with that 24-hour emergency support in destination. And everything we do can be customized. So you'll find on our website a whole variety of different packages. Bear in mind, those are not set in stone. They're not group tours or set departures. So any component can be tweaked or amended to suit your specific needs. You can add additional nights in any of the destinations. You can add destinations into those trips. You can add a rail journey from the end city back to the point of origin to make your vacation a round trip so that you can fly in and out of the same city. And you can also upgrade the accommodation on board the trains, choosing between, in many of the European countries, up to 4 different classes of service on board the trains. And when it comes to sightseeing, you can add or include any of the excursions, the activities, the attractions that you may be interested in those destinations. And as far as hotels go, you can modify your itinerary as well by selecting between 3, 4, and 5-star options on every night of the trip. If you're concerned about your options in the event of having to cancel or reschedule your trip, with Railbookers, you can do so up to 5 days prior to your departure date. We then provide you with a future travel credit valid for 2 years that can be put towards anything, completely flexible. Whatever funds you had already paid towards your vacation would then become a credit that you can use, for example, towards a few segments traveling on Amtrak right at home in the United States. You could put, if you'd originally booked a European trip, you could put it towards something in Canada, so ultimate flexibility. You can also transfer that credit towards another person if you decide that you're no longer able to or no longer wish to travel within the 2-year period of the credit. We've got a fantastic promotion going at the moment whereby you can save up to $500 in free upgrades. You can upgrade your rail accommodation, upgrade your room in the hotel, add additional sightseeing into the experience, or upgrade the hotel itself from perhaps a 4 to a 5-star property. So up to $500 towards any of those free upgrades on the vacation of your choice. Folks, here you see the European rail network map. All of those different colors are various high-speed rail companies throughout Europe. None of them actually work together or talk to each other. So when you're booking a trip that includes different segments going through various countries in Europe, it can be quite complicated and a little frustrating because you're working with a variety of different suppliers. But at Railbookers, we work directly in partnership with all of them. So once again, it's one easy phone call, either yourself or your travel agent, to get that multi-destination rail journey organized. We can book it all 2 years in advance for you. Chances are you're thinking about traveling into 2022, and hopefully by then many of the coronavirus health and safety regulations will have been removed. However, if you're traveling this year or up until the end of 2021, you're probably interested to know what the policies are that the train companies have taken to provide peace of mind for passengers on board. So let me give you a quick summary. First off, when it comes to seat configuration, the trains are only being booked on a limited capacity, often only 50%, meaning that every other seat on board is blocked off to make sure that the minimum social distancing guidelines are being maintained. When it comes to meals, in many cases, meal service has been curtailed on board, in some cases suspended completely for COVID safety reasons. However, you'll always be able to bring your own food on board with you. When it comes to Europe, there's very seldom a journey longer than 3 or 4 hours, and you can bring your own picnic lunch on board with you if the rail operator is not offering food service for COVID reasons, and of course we will advise you if that is the case. The trains are being sanitized on an ongoing basis, and there is no paper changing hands. Touchless processors and infrared scanners have been introduced for ticket control and payment for any kind of items you're purchasing on board. With that said, having gone through those preliminaries about rail travel and what we can do to make your life easy, book an independent trip through Europe, let's take a look at some of these fantastic itineraries that are perfectly suited for celebrating a milestone life event, an anniversary or a big birthday, starting with the incredible Royal Scotsman, the luxury train that travels through the Scottish Highlands. We have several different itineraries at Railbookers featuring this magnificent train, many of which, as is the case with the Scotland's classic Splendours that we're looking at the moment. This is an 11-day trip. Starts from London. You have 3 nights in London, traveling up to Edinburgh by train, 3 nights in Edinburgh, and then you're on the Royal Scotsman, exploring the Scottish Highlands in the absolute lap of style and luxury. Those 3 nights in London, by the way, will give you the opportunity to take in the highlights there with included sightseeing on the London Eye, the Tower of London. We can also arrange an excursion for you out to one of the surrounding attractions outside of London, such as going out to Bath and Stonehenge. Then you're traveling up to Edinburgh, a very relaxing, comfortable, scenic journey on the train to Scotland's capital. You have 3 nights there, again, to explore the city, take in all of the highlights, Edinburgh Castle and the Scottish Crown Jewels and all of those other wonderful sights, aside from lots of free time to explore and soak up the atmosphere of this wonderful city. When in Edinburgh, you also have the opportunity to upgrade your accommodation to the Waldorf Astoria Caledonian, probably the best address for any visitor to Edinburgh, in the shadow of the Edinburgh Castle. Then it's time to board the train and start your trip exploring the Scottish Highlands in luxury on the Royal Scotsman. The best way to think about these 5-star luxury trains are thinking of them as a 5-star hotel on wheels, taking you throughout the destination to explore all the highlights. You're unpacking once. You have 4 nights going throughout the Scottish Highlands to the great national parks and the most scenic areas. And all the while you're traveling, on your own mobile luxury hotel. You don't have to pack up your suitcase and go from hotel to hotel as you're going through the Highlands. The train is incredibly comfortable, beautifully decorated public areas like the dining car. The cuisine on board is second to none. Belmond, the company that operates the Royal Scotsman, prides itself on the very highest standard of cuisine. It really is like a mobile Michelin restaurant, using the finest locally sourced ingredients. Onboard accommodation can be selected between a double cabin. You can see the double bed in that particular compartment, or if you're traveling solo, you can opt for a single cabin or the twin, where you get 2 separate twin beds in your compartment. All the amenities that you could ask for, beautifully appointed wood paneled staterooms with power outlets, Wi-Fi, all ensuite shower and washroom facilities, of course. And then you have the lounge car, which is the social hub of the train, and a fantastic place to watch the scenery with big panoramic windows to take in all of those beautiful vistas as you're traveling through the Scottish Highlands. The Belmond Royal Scotsman also, by the way, is all-inclusive. So all your alcoholic beverages are included, as well as entertainment on board provided by musicians and storytellers, and lots of off-train experiences. You're stopping at some of the towns and attractions en route, castles throughout Scotland, and having guided tours and included experiences off the train before returning. And when you come back, why not settle into the lounge car, or perhaps go up to the bar, and you can enjoy one of the 50 single malt scotches that they keep in stock on the bar in the train at no additional cost, because again, it is all inclusive. Italy, another fantastic romantic destination to choose for your perhaps anniversary trip or that big birthday. One of our favorite and most popular Italian itineraries is Rome, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast. You'll start off in Rome, traveling up to Tuscany with 4 nights in Florence, and then going down by train to Naples for your 4-night stay in the magnificent Amalfi Coast. With all the itineraries that you have with Railbookers, you have your rail accommodation, where you can choose the class of service on board between economy, premium, and very often in Europe there'll be executive and business class as well, so you can choose the accommodation that works best for you. You then have all your sightseeing included, skip the line access to highlight attractions in the destination cities like the Colosseum, the Vatican museums and Sistine Chapel, but also lots of time in destination to explore, soak up the atmosphere, stroll the streets in Rome, which is an absolute must, walking up the Spanish Steps, going to the Trevi Fountain to toss in a coin to ensure your return to the city. In Florence, we'll include your admission to the great museums, the Accademia and the Uffizi, to see the great works of art, but you'll also have time to stroll and enjoy the city independently at your leisure. We can arrange excursions from Florence to some of the surrounding areas in the Tuscan countryside. No trip to Tuscany is complete without a visit to San Gimignano with those magnificent towers known as the Manhattan of the Middle Ages. Those towers, by the way, were status symbols for the wealthy families of Tuscany during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. You'll then board the train from Florence. It's a 4-hour journey down to Naples. The trains in Italy and throughout Europe are so fast and convenient. You're traveling at great speed, whizzing through the countryside, but you're not actually missing out on that unique experience of being able to see the countryside as you travel through the hills of Tuscany, and you see those hilltop villages as you go, as opposed to flying over these wonderful destinations. In Sorrento, by the way, you'll have 4 nights there, plenty of time to take an excursion to the islands in the Bay of Naples, Ischia and Capri. We also include in this itinerary a sightseeing tour throughout the Amalfi coast, taking you to the villages of Positano, Amalfi, and Ravello. So again, a wonderful combination of time to explore on your own and included sightseeing. Switzerland, probably the premier rail travel destination throughout Europe, with wonderful scenic sightseeing trains that travel throughout the Swiss Alps. Our most popular Switzerland itinerary is the 9-day Scenic Switzerland from Basel, which takes you around to the most fashionable and popular ski resorts, cities and towns like Lucerne, Montreux, and Zurich, as well as the opportunity to travel aboard those iconic sightseeing trains. You'll have 2 nights overnight stay in St. Moritz, which is the most fashionable, probably, and popular ski resort in all of Europe, but a great place to visit both in summer and winter. You also travel aboard the Bernina Express, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which takes you through the most beautiful parts of the Alps, traveling between St. Moritz and the northern Italian town of Tirano. The experience on board is wonderful, big panoramic windows. The whole train, everything about it is really designed to showcase and highlight the main attraction, which is the wonderful views and vistas as you're traveling through the Alps. You'll also, on this itinerary, go on the Glacier Express, which is perhaps the most famous train in all of Europe. It travels in 8 hours by daylight, so that you don't miss any of the wonderful scenery between St. Moritz and the Alpine village of Zermatt. You can upgrade on board the Glacier Express to Excellence Class, where you'll enjoy, among other benefits, an included 5-course gourmet meal, concierge service throughout the journey, your included alcoholic beverages served at the Glacier Bar that you can see at the back of the slide there. Dining is wonderful. Views are second to none. In Excellence Class, everybody has their own huge panoramic window because the seats are arranged in a 1-by-1 configuration. So there's, nobody has to sit on an aisle removed from the window. If you're traveling in standard class in the Glacier Express, you can purchase meals, wonderful food available for purchase on the train. It's also very comfortable, but not quite to that extreme level of luxury that you'd find in the Excellence Class. When traveling through Switzerland, you'll also have the opportunity to go on some of the wonderful mountain cog trains. The Swiss have pioneered this concept of cogwheel rail, where the train is driven on a cog or a gear at at a very steep gradient to the top of the mountain, because there are so many iconic peaks in Switzerland that people want to explore, and it's just a great experience when you're in the Alps to be able to go to the summit of these fantastic mountains. The Gornergrat is just outside Zermatt, and it happens to be the mountain right next door to the Matterhorn. So throughout that journey, you have these wonderful views of the Matterhorn as you're ascending the Gornergrat on the cog train. There'll be 2 nights in Lucerne to take in the attractions there, strolling across the 600-year-old Chapel Bridge, the oldest covered bridge in all of Europe. You'll also have a day excursion in Lucerne to the top of Mount Pilatus, which is the magnificent peak that overlooks the town. You'll ascend to the top of Pilatus on the Mount Pilatus cog rail, which is the steepest train journey in the world. When at the top, there's a beautiful hotel, restaurant, visitor center, lots of hikes that you can do on the top of that majestic mountain overlooking the lake, the town of Lucerne, and the surrounding Alps. You can actually upgrade your trip by staying overnight at the top of Mount Pilatus in the historic Hotel Kulm, or you can choose to descend back down to Lucerne at the end of that day excursion by gondola. The other spectacular experience traveling through Switzerland is the Jungfrau cog train, which goes to the top of Europe, the highest train station in all of Europe. When you're up there, you can spend time at the visitors center and enjoy a Swiss fondue on the deck, overlooking the permanent glacier at the top. You're at 11,000 feet in altitude, and you have these magnificent views over the Alps. That journey to the top of the Jungfrau can also be upgraded by traveling in either direction on the magnificent new Eiger Express gondola that has just recently been built. And there'll be time as well in Zurich. Zurich, a beautiful town, magnificent Gothic cathedral that features stained glass windows by Marc Chagall. One of the other great ways to celebrate a milestone life event is to travel on a luxury train. Our favorite at Railbookers is the Venice Simplon-Orient-Express. We looked at the Belmond Royal Scotsman earlier, 5-star hotel on wheels traveling through Scotland. The sister train to the Royal Scotsman is the Orient Express, operated by the same company, Belmond, the luxury hotel company with 5-star hotels around the world, but also specializing in train travel. The Orient Express started in the 1920s, and the train features the Art Deco style of that era. Our itinerary here will start in Paris. You'll have 2 nights there to take in the highlights. Your sightseeing pass will give you access to the Eiffel Tower, as well as the Louvre and other attractions throughout Paris, a cruise on the Seine. And then you'll board the Orient Express. Again, the train embodies the glamour and the style of that Art Deco period when it entered service. The staterooms feature polished cherry wood furnishings and sumptuous upholstery. There are 3 grand suites on board, which is a fantastic upgrade idea if you really want to take this to the next level. The grand suites are the absolute height of luxury. You can see there is a well-stocked wet bar with cut crystal glassware. The food on board is second to none on the Orient Express. Really is a traveling Michelin star restaurant. 4 meals served on that journey between Paris and Venice, each one more spectacular than the last. When you arrive in Venice, you'll be in a centrally located hotel on the historic islands, and you'll have lots of opportunity to explore independently, but also included sightseeing, a walking tour of the Doge's Palace and the Golden Basilica. But you'll have the chance to stroll the back alleys and sit in a canal-side cafe, enjoying the signature beverage of Venice, which of course is the Aperol Spritz, and you'll have an included gondola ride. And if you like, we can arrange an excursion for you out to some of the other islands in the Venetian lagoon, most notably Murano and Burano, to see the art of the Venetian art of glass making, glass blowing in action. From Venice, you'll take the train down to Rome, and there'll be 2 nights there to enjoy all the highlights, that guided tour of the Colosseum and a skip the line tour of the Vatican museums. The last of the ideas I'd like to share with you today is Scandinavia. If you're considering traveling to Scandinavia, perhaps in the summer of 2022 on a Baltic cruise, we have fantastic packages that connect with the cruise ports of Bergen and Oslo, taking in the main highlight attraction, tourist attraction in Norway, which is the amazing Flam Railway. This is just a 4-night package, so a really quick package, but a great way to take in some of the highlights of Norway in Oslo and Bergen. When in Oslo, you'll have an included admission to the amazing Viking Ship Museum, where you can see these incredible examples of Viking shipbuilding, the old Viking longships. You'll have time in Bergen, which is a magnificent city on the water, historic city, beautiful place to spend a couple of nights. And you'll get the journey included on the Flamsbana, the incredible Flam Railway, described by National Geographic Traveler as the most scenic train journey in the world, traveling from the Norwegian fjords right up to the mountain station of Myrdal. So another wonderful idea for celebrating your anniversary or big birthday, perhaps with a partner or with a small group of friends. Folks, we do webinars every week at Railbookers. Next week, we're talking about trans-Canadian rail journeys. I'm not sure if I mentioned at the outset, I'm actually located in Canada. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Canada for Railbookers. And we have some wonderful trans-Canadian rail vacations to share with you, traveling on the iconic Via Rail Canadian train that connects the great cities of Toronto and Vancouver. The following week, we're going to be talking about what's really trending, the rail vacations that are booking for us in Europe and other destinations around the world at the moment. So folks, hopefully today's webinar has given you some food for thought and some ideas for your upcoming travels and for some trips that would really be a great way and a great situation to celebrate and recognize that big birthday or anniversary you have coming up. Remember, we have the promo at the moment for $500 in free upgrades towards your hotel accommodation, your rail accommodation, or any aspect of your journey. That concludes my portion of the webinar today, and I'm going to open up the question panel to see if there are any questions that have come in. I do have a question here from Mike who's asking, do you folks just do packages, or can we book rail trips through you? Mike, that's a great question. Everything that I've discussed today on the webinar has been full itinerary packages, including hotel accommodation, sightseeing, and your rail trips. And that's really what we specialize in at Railbookers. We are a tour operator that specializes in arranging independent travel, independent trips using train as the means of transportation. We can book rail segments for you throughout Europe if that is primarily what you're interested in. However, our minimum requirement is that it is a package, and the bar to kind of define your trip as a package is very low. We just need you to book one hotel through us. So if you want us to do various different rail segments in multiple European countries, we can absolutely do that. You just need to do one of the hotels through us. Folks, that appears to be the only question that has come in this afternoon. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us to learn a little bit more about traveling by rail, and wherever your travels may take you, I'd like to wish you bon voyage. Stay safe out there, take good care, and hopefully we'll see you on a future webinar or one of our trips in the near future. Thanks again, and have a great evening. Bye for now.